let me introduce myself. First of all, I'm a PhD student at the Politecnico di Milano in computer science. So I have an engineering background, and I'm also a remote visiting PhD student at the Interaction Lab at the USC under the supervision of Maya Mataric, that I think that you already knew. Basically, my research included different projects. So I've been working on very different field study. One of them was at the Interaction Lab, so at the USC, where I have used QTrobot for running an empirical study to evaluate how a social assistive robot could elicit empathy in user. So the idea was trying to understand if which was the perception of the user listening to a story told by a robot, specifically the QTrobot, and how the empathy elicited changed across different conditions. Because we evaluate the user listening to the story told in first-person narrative perspective and in third-person narrative perspective. So the main idea was to understand how to make the robot more empathic and how to so that you can design it in order to elicit more empathy into the user. So the main results we collect were that, first of all, the robot who told the story in first-person narrative voice was perceived as more empathic, and it elicited more empathy into the user. In addition, the user perceived the robot as more trustworthy, as more human-like, and when we asked the user to pick some adjective to describe the QTrobot, they all use some affective adjectives. So not only very objective words such as, I don't know, it's cute, is a beautiful robot or something like that, but they actually use some more empathic words such as it's an emotional robot, it's empathic, and so on. So it was a very good result that allows us to move forward. We actually, from all the data that we collected during our study, we were able to train a model to predict the illicit empathy during the human-robot interaction. So we actually have got accepted a paper at the Affective International Conference that we are going to present at the end of September, where we when we share with the scientific community the results that we get from this, let's say, this modeling of the illicit empathy. So basically, what we found out was that we were able to predict the illicit empathy during a human-robot interaction using the data collected in this study that I've just described to you. And so this was my first track of research that I've been working on with Qt. Then I'm also working on a project that is called that aims to translate the text into affective gesture automatically. So the idea is that from the text, we would like to automatically generate some gesture to be synchronized with the speech. And so the current status of this research project is that we have currently almost done with the implementation, and we need still to evaluate it. So to understand if the user perceives the gesture as coherent with the semantic of the sentence and with the affective state that the sentence wants to convey to the user. So, and I think that we are going to evaluate it, I hope, within the end of the year, or worst case scenario would be next year. And the third project I've been working on with the QTrobot is actually related to my PhD thesis. So my PhD thesis investigates speech-based interaction in general, so basically conversational agent that are able like to conversate with people. But the main goal was to understand and investigate how conversational agent can improve or at least support in improving linguistic skills of children with autism spectrum disorder or developmental language disorder. So the idea is to understand which could be the design of the robot, how the interaction should be in order to promote and facilitate this kind of like rehabilitation process into a therapeutic context. So my last study investigates exactly like as this aim, so to understand which is the best conversational agent to address this goal, and we compare the physical robot, so the QTrobot, with a virtual agent. I will show you the picture of the virtual agent. Basically, what I've done was to take the picture of the QTrobot, then I have vectorized the image, and I have created my own virtual agent using like Illustrator and Photoshop, and I have like export is as an SVG, so that I was able like to control everything, the movement, the eyes, and everything of the virtual robot, and having a comparable like technology. So basically we involved almost 40 children. Half of them interact with the virtual robot, the virtual QTrobot, and the other half with the physical QTrobot. And actually the results showed that in general, children were more willing to speak with the physical robot. So we assessed the number of occurrence of the speech interaction, the speech change between therapist children and the robot, or therapist children and the like virtual agent. And the number of like the frequency of the speech change in the child robot interaction was higher with respect to the virtual robot condition. So basically the embodiment and the physicality of the robot allows the child to speak more, and so socially interact more. Even if the tasks were the same, like between the two conditions, they were able like to speak more. And this is like was a very interesting insight. And then we also interviewed the therapist, because we would like to like understand their opinion, their point of view. And they told us that actually child perceive the robot as a companion, while they perceive the virtual agent as more a character of a game. Was not like a really like perception of a companion or like a tutor or something like that, but the virtual character was perceived as more just like something that stay on a tablet screen, and it's related to the activity and the task that they had to perform during the speech language therapy. So we are planning to like move forward with all these analyses, of course, and we are planning to understand which was the child behavior during the human-robot interaction, to understand better which could be the implication for further study. And I do want also to share with you that this study, the last one that I was like explaining you, was completely done by the therapist by their own. So basically, I provide them a user manual, I provided them the robot, the tablet, whatever they needed to like launch the activity and so on. And they were able to use it by their own. So I think this is a very good achievement. I do not have used the software like you provide us with the QTrobot, but we have built our own like framework to compose a social human-robot interaction. We named that framework Harmony, that is like human and robot modular open interaction that has been already been published into the ICRA conference last year. So we presented on June, more or less. So yeah, few months ago. And we basically implement all the activity during the speech therapy with this framework. And we provide also the therapist with a graphical user interface develop and implement ad hoc for the empirical study.
Queste sono le avventure del cavallo Filippo. Oggi c'è il sole. Il cavallo Filippo cammina nel prato. Nel prato ci sono dei fiori. Il cavallo Filippo ha trovato un bellissimo cappello.
So from like a developmental side, so for implementing social human robot interaction, I think that the QTrobot is like a great platform because it allows you to, first of all, have implement everything on like the nuke that is like the core computer, the main computer of the QTrobot. And since it's like based on Ubuntu, is really easy to start with it. You can use all the ROS environment and rely on the ROS community to implement anything. So this is like a great plus. Qt for sure has this great potential that it is based on Ubuntu, and so it's really easy to work with.